I just received some great news. The campgrounds are opening soon, May 1st to be exact. We've got a lot of work to do, starting with getting the power system ready if we're going to be able to hit the campground May 1st. So let's start by checking the batteries. Now normally, I like to pull the batteries out of the camper and store them someplace, but the last couple of years I have to admit I've been a little bit lazy and I've left them in the camper, but that's only because I'm familiar enough with the camper now to know where it floats the batteries at, and in this case it's 13.2 volts. So it's not high enough to boil the batteries dry, and thankfully these are also serviceable batteries, so we'll be able to add water if they're a little bit low. In order to check the power system, what we're going to do is take these covers off. Got a hydrometer here so that I can see what the specific gravity of the batteries are. And I gotta admit, that's not the best hydrometer in the world, but it'll work. From there, I've got a gallon of distilled water if we need to top the batteries off. And then we'll hook the solar system back up and make sure that everything still charges and functions properly. There is an upgrade to the solar system coming, but I don't know for sure if we'll have that ready by the time we start camping. So we're gonna at least make sure that what we have still works. So let's check those batteries, shall we? Alright, so we've got the battery covers off. You may remember me telling you in a video last year that we upgraded to two 6-volt golf cart batteries, which is what we see here. I see some corrosion on these terminals. We'll have to clean that up at some point, but it's not terrible. The nice thing about these batteries is they are serviceable, so I could pop these caps open like this. Take my hydrometer, and we're going to rinse it off a little bit with some distilled water just to make sure there's no nasties on it. And then the way this works is you put it down in the cell. There's a gauge here that points at where the battery is based on the specific gravity of the battery. So I'm going to squeeze this ball, put it down into the acid, and draw up some fluid. And the idea is there's a little notch here that says fluid level. I need to get it to that point. So this first draw wasn't enough. We'll try again. We're pulling a lot of air. So we may need to actually water this battery before we get an accurate reading. Now you may notice I am not following best practice and wearing a rubber glove or anything like that. Highly suggested you do it. Now, one of the things you need to do once you get a good fill of fluid is to knock the bubbles off, which is what I'm doing right now. And you can see the specific gravity of this battery is in the good range. It's floating about, probably about 1.28. So this battery is well charged, and I would expect that. We're going to check all the cells to make sure everything's balanced properly. Ooh, I got a good fill off of this one. This one's reading 1.3, so it almost is looking like this cell might benefit from being balanced. And this one's 1.3 as well. So yeah, this battery probably would benefit from having an equalized charge on it. And now what we're going to do, I know this is not going to be easy for you to see, but I'm going to try and bring you over here so that you can watch me add a little bit of fluid to the plates, because we want it high enough that it completely covers the plates by about 1/2 inch. As you can see, there is fluid in each of the holes, and it's covering the plates completely, but what we want to try and do is get it just a little higher So we'll see if I can do this while filming. That looks good. That looks good. And that looks good. We'll put our cap back on here. And then I'm going to put you back in the tripod and I will wipe this battery up and we'll check the other one. Now we're going to do the same thing with this battery. Check the specific gravity of the cells. Showing fully charged. Definitely could use a little bit of water though. But that's to be expected, being that I haven't watered them in 3 months. So the good news is the batteries are fully charged. As expected, they need a little bit of water. But that's no big deal. And once we water them, we'll give them a nice equalizing charge and they will be ready to go. So a real quick tour under here before I let you guys go, before we start checking on the solar stuff. This positive terminal is connected to this negative terminal. The camper power is here. Camper ground is actually elsewhere because this runs here to this bridge that is at part of my power meter inside, and then this is the camper ground. So this measures what goes through the camper. Alright, so here we are in the camper, and here's my Rhenology charge controller. This is one of the 2 upgrades that I'm actually going to make this year. And let's see, you can see right now it's reading 2 amp hour, 100%, 13.7 volts. I'm not sure, there we go, now it's reading no amps. So this is the amount of power that's going into the battery right now. That's how much has gone in since everything was last powered down, and that's nothing. 2 amp hour. It will be showing more shortly when we hook the solar panels up. So it looks like the charge controller is fired up and ready to go. Let's go hook the solar panels up. I just realized before we unhook the solar panels we should probably unplug the power from the house. So we're gonna untwist this and unplug that. So the camper's now on its own power. And then we'll go and hook up the solar panels. And you can see I have the solar panels just set in front of the camper facing south. Not the best angle, but for testing the system and whatnot until we're ready to go camping, it'll work. On the back side here you can see the connections that we're gonna make. So bear with me here while I get you in place. And we will start with the connections. So these are actually pretty simple because they only connect one way. You can see we've got 2 male ends, 2 female ends, and each cable has a male and a female. Now, if I remember correctly, the male is positive and the female is negative. And does it say under here? I think it does. Which it says on here. Here we go. Female is negative. So this is my negative cable. And this is my positive cable. And what we're doing right now is paralleling these 2 panels together. So what I'm doing right now is actually paralleling these 2 panels together. That's what these cables are for. And the reason I'm doing that is because the charge controller in the camper cannot take more than 24 volts. And that is about what these put out when they're combined. So until I upgrade the solar panels or the charge controller and add more panels, this is how it's going to be. Like I said, there's a video coming on that. I've got this stuff in my Amazon cart. I just have to order it. So the panels are hooked up. I hooked up the cable to my little plug in the back. Let's go see if the charge controller is charging. As you can see, the voltage is now showing at 14.3 volts, and you can see that bar up top flashing. That means we are charging. We're putting 1.3 amp hour into the batteries. So that's a good sign. And because we just started charging, it also reset the total accumulated amount of power that it put in. So this charge controller will push the batteries up to about 14.8 volts, 14.9, and then float them at 13.6, which is perfect. As you can see, the voltage is now showing at 14.3 volts, and you can see that bar up top flashing. That means we are charging. We're putting 1.3 amp hour into the batteries. So that's a good sign. And because we just started charging, it also reset the total accumulated amount of power that it put in. So this charge controller will push the batteries up to about 14.8 volts, 14.9, and then float them at 13.6, which is perfect. All right, so we've got the batteries charging off the solar. You can see from the meter behind me that we are putting power into the system. That's why it's pulsing. And there's definitely a lot of work to do out here. It's, typical springtime disaster. When we put it away for the year, we wash the blankets, but they don't necessarily get put where they belong. So we got work to do. Cleaning, solar upgrades. Maybe I'll even show you how I check whether or not I have propane in the tanks. Drop a comment down below of some other camper prep videos you'd like to see us make. And make sure you hit the like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell. And camping season is coming. I can't wait. See you guys later. Bye-bye.